there was some tension associated with that. And it's tension that results from an understandable desire on the part of people to have their own place in the sun. And from time to time, various specialties agitated for departmental status. It's interesting that here we are, we're talking about a plan originated in '65, took its first class in '68, medical school class in '68. So we're almost 38 years later. And still, orthopedics has split off, anesthesia, I think, logically, has split off, and ophthalmology has split off, and the rest are still within the Department of Surgery. At any rate, I regularly receive, the anesthesiologists in the community used to write me letters demanding that anesthesia be made a separate department. And I remember there was a famous otolaryngologist, the chairman of otolaryngology at UC San Francisco, by the name of Frank Suey, and he became the chancellor, the president of the university, no, the chancellor of UC San Francisco. And I remember he gratuitously wrote me a letter saying that otolaryngology was becoming a department throughout the United States, and I would have terrible difficulty recruiting if I didn't make it a separate department. I received a tremendous amount of gratuitous advice from all corners. But we prevailed, and I think did what was demanded by the academic plan of the school. The first mission that a chairman faces in a department, I should say a chairperson, because now there are some women who are chairs, is to recruit able faculty. That's the toughest job there is. Of all the tough jobs that one faces, it's enormously time-consuming. And I really tried to resist recruiting my friends to join me. Rather, I tried to recruit the very best people in the country. And I think that it's often said that if 2/3 of the people you recruit turn out well, you're doing just fine. I think I did a little better than that. I think maybe about 80% of them turned out fine, but not all of them. And one makes mistakes, and one gets bad information, and there are all sorts of things that influence recruitment. And one suffers some disappointments. I tried to recruit Norman Shumway to head cardiac surgery here, and he came that close, and he finally was deterred by the fact that, as he put it, as only Norman Shumway can put it, the other cardiac surgeon who was already on the scene was sleeping with the chairman of medicine. That was Nina Brownwald, Eugene Brownwald's wife. And he said that made him very nervous. So he didn't come. But ultimately we did recruit an outstanding cardiac surgeon, Pat Davey, who I regard as one of the really best clinical cardiac surgeons in this country. And I have the coronary bypass to prove it. Twice. But that's the first mission. And I think, you know, we recruited a lot of really very good people. And then, of course, the second mission is to establish a really good, outstanding residency program in all of the specialties. And I was most concerned with general surgery because that's my field. And we did that. We did that in aces and spades. there's one of those newspaper clippings that I gave you, talks about the number of applicants we had who heard about San Diego and were anxious to come here. It was a staggering number of applicants, and it grew and grew and grew. And as a result, we obtained very good residents, and they became very good surgeons. A number of them in this community. I never did count the total number in this community, who stayed in this community as practicing surgeons, but the total number of residents trained under my direction comes to about 200. It's a large number of surgeons. And I think that had a really major influence on medicine in this community. It wasn't the only influence, though. Lots of people were attracted to San Diego. I think having a medical school here attracted people. And not to say nothing of this being the loveliest community in America. But people flocked here, literally flocked here. There was a great deal of excitement about San Diego. So medicine, I think, at least in large part, as a result of establishing a university and a medical school, medicine in San Diego, in my perception, grew in a positive way very rapidly. Where today, you know, it's hard to think of, especially, maybe with the exception of portal hypertension, that isn't practiced in an expert way in the community. And I'm very proud of that. I think that medicine is really, San Diego medicine is very good and still clean. From my point of view, I really haven't come across any of the kinds of things I knew took place in the Los Angeles area. So what else can I tell you? What have I skipped?
You haven't skipped very much. It's a remarkable history. I learned a lot about that.
You know, there is, of course, so much history about the university, and in which I was intimately involved, I have to say. It was less well known to the community, but you know, how UCSD got its start and how it attracted so many Nobel laureates, and all of the fighting that went on within the university, and the slashing of the budget. I designed the surgical portion of a 350-bed hospital, which was a condition for my coming here. I mean, that was one of the agreements we had. And the governor and the president of the university, as you know, were at each other's throats, and Reagan essentially fired Clark Kerr, and the budget of the university was cut seriously. And the 350-bed hospital, I spent a year, several $100,000, I might say, with architects, designing the surgical portion of it. It was just wiped out.
Hi, this is Ralph Ocampo, and I really want to thank both Marshal and Ira, who was my associate for many years, for their participation. It's been my pleasure to know both men for well over 40 years. These oral histories are made possible by the San Diego County Medical Society Foundation and gifted to the San Diego Historical Society for their archives. It is our hope that we will be able to provide them as streaming videos via the Foundation's website in the near future. I hope you enjoy watching the video as much as I enjoyed producing and editing it. We want to acknowledge the service of all physicians through videos of this type in all specialties. Thanks again for watching. Bye. This is Ralph Ocampo. My thanks to Marshal and Ann Orloff for their help in making this video possible. Pausing the video will permit viewing or printing the slides that Dr. Orloff prepared for his PowerPoint. They are included for their value to future historians. Please remember that the San Diego Historical Society needs your support to continue archiving these materials. The San Diego County Medical Society Foundation is the organization that sponsors the David Hoffman Society for Medical History, and it is the David Hoffman Society that has organized these oral histories, now 27 of them, going back to just after the end of World War II. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation as much as I have had the pleasure of putting it together. Bye.